day, everybody. This is John Scarborough. Wanted to show you all a little bit about what we got going on here. These are some fig trees we just planted. Figured I'd do a little update. I did a video just a day or two ago of a persimmon tree I planted. I haven't posted it yet. It should be posted probably first before this one, but we'll see how that goes. I apologize again for the lack of videos that I've been putting out. Like I've said before, I try to make sure that all my content is good, helpful content. So I'm not going to sit there and just try to make up videos, you know what I mean? And when we get this busy, it's hard enough to put out a video. And I'm going to tell y'all, guys, it's guys and gals, it is a lot harder than people think. Anybody that doesn't have a YouTube channel, it's more work than you think making consistent videos, good videos to put out there. So I really would appreciate it if we could start seeing more subscribers and more activity, you know, a like, subscribe, and comments too. You know, all of that helps my channel. And I put this channel out here, I put it out there because I love to show what we're doing and share what we're doing, but it does take time out of my day. And it's crazy. It's like almost every time I get ready to do a video, my phone is almost dead or it will get ready to die by the time I do it. And sometimes I'll take 1 or 2 takes before I actually end up making the video. So y'all might see a 15-minute video. Well, it may have taken me 45 minutes to get it or longer than that, you know. So just kind of keep that in mind, guys. I enjoy doing this, but at the same time, it does take some effort, and we're putting it out for to help everybody, but we need the advertisement. Okay, and that's part of what we're hoping to get out of this channel is advertisement for what we're doing, you know. So a share, a like, a comment, all of that stuff helps, because Google works, they don't work the way you would think they would. They really do base it off of how many comments or how many, you know, shares and all like that, and how many subscribers. You know, there's a complicated system as to how it works. So all of that stuff, guys, helps out, and I would really truly appreciate that. Anyway, I'm gonna quit rambling on about that. I'm gonna talk about that in just a minute, but first I'm gonna show you we got some cats here recently, and apparently they think that they need to climb all over me. I mean, look at this. They just will jump all up on you. It's just crazy. The other day they jumped on me while I was cutting it. It was kind of aggravating, but when it's a cold day, that's actually pretty nice. So anyway, guys, I just wanted to share that for just a second. Hope y'all don't mind me getting twisted around. These these trees right here, let's get on to the topic. As you can tell, they're kind of crinkling in just a little bit, and I think most of that is just due to being transplanted, and they're probably a little bit dry. Normally I would water them, but tomorrow we're supposed to get 2 days of hard rain, so I kind of hated to water them just yet. If it turned out we didn't, I would definitely make sure I did water them. The leaves are curled a little bit. They were curled more last night, but after that dew, they're a little bit better. And they actually, like this one right here, you can tell it had just a little bit of fungus on it or something on it, and it's probably a sign of something that's not so good. But mostly what I'm seeing here is leaves that look like they're dying from the frost. So I think mostly what that is somebody probably was keeping these trees somewhere where they weren't getting damaged by the frost, because typically you'd see all the leaves gone right now. So I think that's all it really was, and now they're exposed to the climates, and the leaves are falling off. So if y'all do plant trees this time of year, then keep that in mind. This is the best time of year to plant a tree. Well, I say that, actually the best time is probably more like January 1st, or at least in my area. You want to, the main thing is when you're planting most trees, you want to plant them in the dormant season, okay? So we did get 2 trees here, 2 fig trees, and we've got a third one we're going to plant down here. We bought 2, and then we decided, you know what, we got space for 3. We really would like to have 3, so we're going to go ahead and put 3 of them in there. And then right down here where you see the bale of hay, Okay, so you see this temporary fence. We're gonna end up with a permanent fence there of sorts. And then we're gonna come over some, and probably between the camper and this fence over here, we're gonna end up building our house. And that way we can have that nice view. Hopefully all of that can get cleaned up and get some good grass in there. Like I've said in the past, I've had a couple people comment and saying, man, you just really don't keep up with your pastures. When I've shown them videos of this is a piece of property we just purchased. We leased it for a little while, but the lease it was only year to year, so we couldn't really afford to put a lot of money into it. So we would just run them in here and graze them. Now that we own it, we're gonna do more and get it right. But that was actually clear cut. So there was no grass there or anything. And apparently that's been enforced for quite a while. But I'm gonna tell y'all guys, that is some really good ground for this part of the world. A lot of places I don't see topsoil like I do over there. I drilled, I took my auger and drilled a hole for the tree that I planted down there that I showed. Y'all should see it on another video, probably before this one. But I took my auger and I went down 3 foot. Now that's too far to plant a tree, but I just went down because I wanted to see just how deep the topsoil went. Guys, I never hit anything but topsoil. That is crazy for this part of the world. Now, for a lot of people, that's, you know, in some parts of the world, that can be normal, you know. But here, okay, so it was actually probably more like 2 foot of topsoil, but then it was still sandy ground underneath. Decent sand underneath there. It wasn't any clay. Okay, so up here you can tell there's a little bit more clay in there, and then as I go around the house area and things like that, there's definitely more clay in those areas. Most of this ground is good topsoil. You can see we're definitely still doing a lot of production. I'm gonna have an upcoming video on this shop on our the things we've got going on in there. I don't think I've made a video showing that shop yet. If y'all want to see more of the shop, put a thumbs up in the comment. Just put the thumbs up emoji if you can find it. Just put that in there. That way I know that you watched this video and what you're thinking is you want to see a video of this shop. So if y'all do, just put a thumbs up in there. But this is kind of what's going on. It's slow progress because we've been getting so much rain. It's just hard to get a lot done, especially with dirt and gravel and stuff. But anyway, back to the trees, and across there, all of that's some really good topsoil. So I'm excited about that. But what we're planning to do is have the house right in this area, okay? And that's going to be nice. So right across here in this line of trees, let me back up a little bit. I'm sorry for all the moving, guys. It's kind of how it is. So I'm gonna back up there. Okay, all the way down, we're gonna have another probably room for 2 apricot trees going all the way down. And then I'm thinking on the outer corner, past that gray, you see that little gray, eventually we're gonna have a good corner there for a good fence. But out on the outside that corner, I'm thinking we'll end up planting a mulberry tree and use it for shade for cows, and it'll kind of look pretty in there, but I'm not sure. Anyway, we'll see on that. So I'm gonna take y'all down here now and show y'all some more trees that we've done. We do plan to do quite a bit more trees than this. We've even considered putting in quite a few, trying to remember the nut. We've done so much research on stuff, my mind forgets what we were doing the research on last. It was hazelnut. We were going to do hazelnut or chestnut probably in this area, and we were planning on putting in a decent amount of trees, maybe even 30-something trees, and possibly trying to sell some of them, well, quite a few of them. You know, now it won't be no major production. 32 trees is not that many when it comes to major production, but it might help out a little bit. But it's probably going to be 5 years before we see any income from that. That's just kind of a long-term goal. It is probably close to $1,000 just to do that much. So it is kind of an investment, you know, to think about. But this is kind of a row of trees we got here. If y'all can see pretty good, I'll try to hold still as best I can. And this is going to be the existing fence later. Right now it's just a hot wire, but it will be our backyard fence. And we could move it back some. Right now, I think I like this. This is about 72 inches. 72 inches is about the widest riding mower that I could see myself mowing with. And honestly, I don't even think that I need a 72 inch here. About a 60 inch cut would do good. And really a 48 inch cut is not bad at all. for here, because a lot of the stuff we graze and we don't even worry about mowing, and then we might go over it once with the ride mower around, you know, at the end of the year or something like that. So really 48 inches is probably going to be what I'll end up using there, and that should work good there. But anyway, so what we're going to do is plant these trees. Anytime you're planting trees on a fence row, always try to be mindful of how big that tree is going to be. Okay, these are fruit trees, so they're not going to get ginormous. Okay, now over time they might get a little bit bigger, but they really shouldn't get any more than 6 to 8, maybe 10 inches at the most. But 10 inches is an old tree, and most likely we're not even going to let it put that much production into the tree. We'll probably be letting it put more into the fruit. And if you prune them right and everything, then you will get that. You'll get more and more into the fruit. So we'll be doing that, probably pruning them to where they're easy to handle for us, because we're not a big production farm here, and most of these trees are for our own consumption. They're not for selling. As you can see, we got quite a few blueberries there. We got 3 of them. I'm hoping to have 4. We have considered growing enough blueberries for selling, but if we did it, then it would be where people come and pick the blueberries themselves. And I have seen people be profitable with that style of blueberry farming. There's actually a farm probably 10 miles from here. They do quite well with that, from what I understand. It's only 10 acres. But anyway, so if we did do something like that, that would be more along the lines of what we did. For now, it's just for us. I love blueberries. Very good for your eyes, actually. But anyway, so these blueberries we actually planted across the road, and I had to pull them up and transplant them. Everything else that I planted, we had to leave. That's the only sad part about selling, even though we sold, obviously, because we made a really good profit. And that's the reason we went ahead and did it, because part of making a living at home is to could even be selling your own home, you know. So that's what we did, and we were glad to do it and start fresh. It's been hard work, a lot of hard work trying to do it, but we're so happy to do it. But that was the only sad part, is there were several trees just about to start fruiting, and we just couldn't get anything from them, and it was too late to pull them up. You know, you wouldn't want to do that, and the new owner really appreciated having them. So we did have that, but we were able to get these. They were only in the ground for about 6 months before we decided to do it. And we transplanted them and put them in this pot. They did well. We put them in a small enough pot where they would just kind of not really get any bigger, but where they could kind of still be okay. This one just about died out. The cows actually broke into where they were and just attacked them. So that one just about died out. Then on down the line here, we've got a mulberry tree. Now, I've never had mulberry, so I'm kind of excited about it. I think it's kind of a neat looking tree. The bark's a little bit different than what I've seen in some trees. I think it's going to be a really pretty tree. So anybody that knows anything about mulberry, let me know what y'all think. I've heard that they're really good. They make really good jelly. I think this one's going to need some trimming up, some initial trimming. I'm going to go through and just take off some of these really tall limbs, because we want them to grow out instead of up, you know, more than that. But anyway, so we'll do a little bit of trimming. You don't want to trim too much when you first plant a tree, but there are some things you want to trim for. Anytime you see a dead or a dying or diseased leaves or limbs, they call that the 3 Ds. Anytime you see that, you always want to cut that off, no matter what. That's always going to be the best bet. Yeah, so this is a mulberry. So I am kind of excited. You know, it's a native tree. It's native to this area, so that's really good. So that's another little tip, is anytime you plant trees in your area that are native, let's just say it's easier to be organic, okay? Because those trees have adapted and built up, they've built up many, they're just immune to the area. They've been evolving to the area for probably thousands of years, definitely hundreds of years. So it's much easier to deal with. Plus, most of the pests that are bad for the tree, those pests have predators already here. Whereas some trees, that are not native to here. There's pests that will eat the, will attack the tree, but there are no predators. And that's where you really start getting in problems. And I'm not saying that we're going to go organic with these trees. If they were about to die, I probably would spray them with something if I had to. But for me, it's going to be last resort. I'm going to try not to have to do that, especially since it is just for us. But we try to do as much organic practices as we can, just because personally I like it better. I like the way the soil reacts. I like everything is better, and the payoff ends up being better in the long run if you can do it. With that being said, I have had a set of plum trees that were so far gone that everyone there, even there was a professional in the area, he actually did quite a bit of work. He said there was no way I was going to bring them back. And I did end up spraying them. Now, we did not eat any fruit from them that year, but I did end up spraying them, and I did kill them off, and I saved the trees. We got them back. So I just see it kind of like going to the doctor or taking an antibiotic. If you have to do it, it's better than losing it. You know what I mean? Other than that, I'm going to try not to. So one way to stay at least more organic is variety. Lots of variety. And I don't just mean 2 different types of plums or 2 different types of peaches or something like that. I mean, you want to have enough different kinds of things, like a mulberry, a peach, a plum, this or that, the other thing, and then maybe even some herbs here and there planted around there. Those kinds of things make it to where the pest that likes that type of thing doesn't come there and start to just build bigger and bigger and bigger. Instead, there's multiple varieties. The biggest thing is there's multiple smells. Those smells confuse them. When they fly over a peach orchard and all they smell is peach, well, you can bet every one of them is going to go down there. But when all they like is peaches and plums, let's just say that, and then they smell all these different smells like garlic and just all kinds of different things down there, maybe some mulberry and just all kinds of things that they don't necessarily like. Sometimes it can be a little bit confusing. The main thing is you don't get as much of a buildup. So organic, the way to go organic is to think, what does nature like? Well, nature likes balance. Nature it doesn't like all one thing. Okay, I'm not telling you to go organic by any means. There's a lot of people that have big, massive orchards, and they do very well doing it. And I'm not against that in any way. I'm just telling you what we do and what works for us, especially if it's a home garden. Okay, so that does make problems a little bit easier. Even if you couldn't go 100% organic, it could help you definitely a lot. So on down the line, we have plums here. Plums need a cross-pollinator, okay? So we've got 2 plums here, and we may go with a 3rd one. We really think we're going to go ahead and go with a 3rd one. You do not have to have 3 to cross-pollinate. All you need is the 2. And what I mean is not just 2 of the same variety. You have to have 2 different varieties. They do much, much better if you do that. I'm not 100% sure why, but I think it goes back to what we see in nature. And in nature, many fruits, when their seed drops to the ground, they shoot up a plant. Many times that seed is not the same plant as its mother plant, okay? And that's the reason why most trees are cutoffs. They don't start from seed. They start from cutting a limb or something like that and re-putting it back to a mother root that they want, or something like that. So just, anyway, I don't know just a huge amount about that, but so in nature, when you get 2 seeds dropped next to each other and they both begin to grow, then they're naturally going to be 2 different varieties already. So I think that's kind of part of it. That's just a theory of mine. I don't actually know that for sure. But anyway, 2 trees. I think we're going to go with 3 there. That's why we left this space, because we're not sure. We'll either end up putting 2 things here that do need cross-pollinators, because we want them as close as we can get, or we'll get 1 more plum and then probably another thing down there that does not need a cross-pollinator. I'm fairly certain that Barbados cherries do not need cross-pollinators. That's something I would like to have here. That's another thing that does better in this area. I could do other cherries, but I'm probably going to have more problems. So by putting a cherry that does better here, I'll have a lot less issues out of that. And then down here we got 2 peaches. Peaches also need cross-pollinators, so you got to remember that. Peaches is something I've always wanted to grow, peaches and apricots, but really I'm excited about growing all of them. So anyway, these are doing quite well, I think, so far. Of course, obviously, because we just planted them. But I think we're going to come down here and plant. There's my coffee, guys. We're going to go down there and we're going to plant some more all the way down there. We probably got enough room for another 4, maybe 5 trees, depending on how far down we want to go. There's our compost pile. Savannah's been piling up all of her I can't talk, all of her microgreen stuff. It's mostly peat moss, so I don't know that it composts real well. We covered it up, but it's just not getting hot. So if y'all know anything about composting peat moss, put it in the comments. But other than that, we do need peat moss in some places. In fact, blueberries, they do quite well with peat moss because they need a more acidic soil. So we did 2 things, and other than an acidic soil, they don't need just a whole lot of, they're not real picky, and they do better in clay soil. So as you go farther up this line, like you start down here and it's more sandy, as you go farther up, the soil gets more and more clay. So we put 3 blueberries where it was the most clay, and then we put the mulberry, not the mulberry, I don't remember what that other one was, but I told y'all what it was. I can't remember. I'm thinking of so many different fruits. Anyway, it was the one I've never eaten any of. Anyway, we put that up there because it handles, it doesn't need quite as much. It's not quite as picky as some other plants. And then we came on down where it gets a little bit better. All of them still do have clay in the soil. Most of them do anyway, along here. So when you plant trees in clay, you got to remember a couple things. For one, you're basically planting them in a clay pot, okay? Now, this is not all clay as you go on down the line, but there's a significant amount of clay, okay? And you can tell there is some sandiness in there, but as you go up, several of those do have clay. So for one, you want to open up your hole pretty good bit, and this is something I don't normally suggest when I'm planting, is adding a bunch of amenities to your tree, because you want to encourage your tree to stretch its roots out and reach for more, okay? But when you're going into a hole of clay, you kind of do need to do something in order to keep it alive long enough, okay? But then after that, you still got to do some stuff to help out with it. You're probably not going to have to water them as much, especially if you mulch this. If you overwater it, you're going to have an issue. But one thing we did here is we made sure we planted them on a slight slope, and we made sure that we planted the tree above the ground a little bit, which is something you want to do with most trees, probably all trees. Make sure you come up just a little bit. Don't plant them flush or underneath. I see a lot of people do that, and you'll drown a tree out that way. You don't want them to get trunk rot and things like that. You want them to be able to get aerated, okay? If you do happen to plant those roots a little bit too high, even that's probably not going to be the end of the world. They'll be fine, especially if you put a little mulch over that. You know, they need that aeration, okay? But especially in this clay soil. So if you do that, I have seen trees do well in here. Just keep in mind, it is possible. They're kind of in a clay pot. Over time, if you keep mulching the area and doing well, that soil, that clay can get better and better for the tree, and the tree will eventually reach out and do better. But that is something to keep in mind, is you may have to do a little bit more things. Basically, you just want to get as much organic matter without drowning the tree out as you can to break down and try to get this clay turning more into a black organic matter rich soil, which it can happen. I've seen it happen. Now it takes time, but it can happen. And another thing is, obviously, like I said, we've got it on a slight slope going down here. You can tell the slope gets more and more down there, but it's a slight slope. It's not too much, just enough to kind of keep some of that fall. So see, even water, even when it's underground, it still tries to stay level. So if there's a slope, that water, even under the ground, is going to draw that way. So that helps too. Okay, if this wasn't clay soil and it was a really bad slope, I would even put something around there to hold the water. But in this case, we're not trying to hold the water. We're good to go. So you got to kind of remember that, okay? Another thing I would do if this was really bad in some of these places, I would consider taking and burying a couple of actual logs. I would make sure that they were good, healthy logs from healthy trees, okay? But some logs, maybe about foot, 16 inches, and I would have, before I planted the tree, drilled a couple more holes with my auger or dug them somehow, and maybe even gone out a little ways and put several logs going that way. And you could do it as far out as you wanted, but several logs going out that way. And that does two things. For one, those are going to slowly decompose over time and turn into better soil, okay? And really, you could do this all the way around and it wouldn't hurt you a bit. The only reason I'm doing it that way is to give the water a place to go, so it doesn't just stay right up against the roots. It also does hold water. Putting the logs down in there hold water. So it can be a good thing all the way around if you're careful with it. Don't put it right up on the tree. Make sure you don't get a tree that's diseased or rotting or has fungus on it. You're just going to kill your tree. You don't want to do that. You want to go find a live tree that looks healthy, okay? And you want to get some stuff from that, okay? That's the best thing you could do. And you know what I'm saying. So try to do that and research it first. This is just the way I do it. I could be dead wrong on that. So you might ought to do some research on it first, but that's the way I do it. And I've had success by it, is putting some logs buried into the ground in there and a couple areas around there, just to create some drainage. And over time, it makes that soil quite a bit better. So that's another little tip. Definitely do your own research on it before you do that. I may be doing a horrible no-no and somehow I've just gotten away with it. I don't know. It's just an idea I came up with. So take a look at that, see if you can do that. But anyway, this is what we've got so far. We are planning on planting quite a few more trees. Maybe not all of them this year. We may do some more next year, and maybe do some every year for a couple years. Our initial plan is to plant a lot of trees around this area, around our area that the cows stay out of. And then there's another area over there past, let me see if I can view in here, past that gray post right over there. Right past that area, all in here, we let the cows in there, but it's so small they're only in there for a day, okay? So we don't ever have to worry about it. So I have considered planting some other types of things in there as well that would do quite well. And I've also considered planting trees just out in the pastures for the cows, just like I did down here, down there around my deer stand. And I probably will plant a few more around the deer stand. But I probably will plant more trees just in order to make sure, just because I can, okay? Just because I can. So I'll have more production, and if I do that, then I'll use them as shade trees for the cows. So I'll probably selectively take out trees that I don't want and add trees that I do want. So trees that produce food of some kind, most likely. You know what I mean? And I'll either sell some of that to the farmers markets, or mostly it's just going to be for us to have food for ourselves. I just like the idea of growing something on my place. It's going to be there. It's going to take up nutrient, so growing something that I can actually use. Plus, we don't really see just a whole lot of nut trees and stuff going back in just out in the forest. That most of them are very controlled. So we'll just give that a try. I will give you a word of caution. If you do plant it out in your cow pastures or anything like that, you need to put something around the tree to protect it. I'm going to have another video coming up where I'm going to show kind of what I'm doing. But I have seen people just go buy one hog panel and cut that hog panel into thirds and then make a triangle around the tree to protect it and put a couple T-posts up. I think that would work excellent. But I've got a bunch of old fencing, so I've already got it. It's not really free, but you know what I mean? It's already there, and it's going to go to waste if I don't use it anyway. So it's a great place to use it. So basically just use what you got, but you do have to put something around it to protect them. And a lot of people actually say it's better to put something around your trees, even if they're in your yard, their first year or two, just to keep the deer and rabbits and things like that off of it. So anyway, guys, I know this has been a very lengthy video. Most of my videos are kind of lengthy because I don't have a lot of time to make the videos. So once I get started, I just kind of keep on going. But I do hope that it has been helpful, guys. And I do hope that anybody that has continued on this long will definitely like and subscribe to my channel.